nice colour palette. And there's a change is going to come. And the Hate You Give is just there, which we haven't read yet.
We really should. And then they have Because You Love to Hate Me. I really like the colour of this, but I don't really care for many of the authors in this collection. So
it's really cool to see the last beginning signed by the author with a little review. Oh, this is the one with her little doodle in. Oh, absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, and this is the spine of the piglets with little sausages.
We do have that one. I didn't realise it had a sequel. We've got the first one, but we haven't read it. Anything with rainbow on, we're in. So this is the Buy One Get One Half Price table, and it's got some really great books from here. Most of them turned up at Yelp as well, so that's really cool to see them all here. This evening because there's an event on and it's the YA CringeFest.
So we picked up these little leaflets for a scrapbook so we can tell you the authors without stumbling on their names. So it's Simon James Green, author of Noah Can't Even, Beth Garrod, author of Super Awkward, and Stephanie Kate Strohm, author of It's Not Me, It's You. They're just going to be talking about their characters, the funny moments, and obviously lots of embarrassing stories if it's called CringeFest. We're really excited for this one though because it's one of the first events we've been to where we haven't read all of the books from authors, so we're here just to be entertained.
Yeah. We're still deciding on whether we can reward ourselves with books because we did a lot of hard work today.
Can you tell us a little about your books in your own words? So start with you.
Sure. So with Noah Can't Even, geeky Noah Grimes is about to turn 16, and he thinks his best chance of being accepted in school is to date the fabulous Sophie, who is considered by most people to be the best girl in the school. Kind of sets up a little plan to try and make that happen, and he gets invited to his first ever party, which is very exciting for poor Noah. But at that party, he ends up having a big old gay snog with his best mate Harry instead, which takes him completely by surprise. And from that point in, it sort of unleashes a kind of a chain reaction, I suppose, really, a kind of increasingly catastrophic events that take place after this, where the kind of chaos in his life is only really matched by the chaos in his head, trying to work out how he feels about Harry and what he's really going to do about it. Ultimately, it's a book about kind of working out who you are as a person and becoming happy with that, I suppose.
Super Awkward is about a 15-year-old girl called Beth, and it's about a term in her life where she tries to all she wants to do is just get things right, be normal, be cool. She wants things to go well with her friends, with any sort of hot guys that she meets, and basically the more she tries to get it right, the more things go wrong. So it's about that feeling of just making things more and more awkward for yourself, but then ultimately, I guess in the same way that yours is, it's sort of a story about the things that really matter that all sit on top of that.
Avery Dennis is finishing up her last year of high school, and she's kind of like your stereotypical queen bee, like the hottest girl in school, has always had a boyfriend, etc. And then her seemingly perfect boyfriend breaks up with her the week before prom, and she spent the whole school year planning prom. And she starts to realize that maybe she's not as awesome as she always thought she was. So her teacher assigns them to do this oral history project where they're supposed to like interview their grandparents about a time in American history they witnessed. Instead, Avery decides to interview all 14 of her ex-boyfriends to figure out why her relationships haven't lasted. And so she learns a lot about herself, too, as she goes through and interviews them, and also needs to defend the prom from being sabotaged by her nemesis. So there's a lot going on.
So when you first started writing, did you always intend to write a funny book? Or did you just stumble across that accidentally?
I did, yeah. I love writing comedy, and I love writing things that I hope are going to be fun to read. It's lovely to be able to make people laugh, hopefully. So yeah, I always wanted to write comedy.
I think that when you start writing, you don't think of it with your debut, you don't think of it being a book, you just write something that you really enjoy. So yes, I wrote the thing that I enjoyed writing and reading, which is funny, but it was never like, oh, I'm now writing a funny book. It just sort of became that.
Yeah.
I feel like with almost everything I do, I hope it's funny, because like I just love to laugh, and like even when I am gonna like watch a movie or read something, I'll be like, well, am I gonna chuckle? That's usually the question I ask my husband. I'm like, how many chuckles are in this? Because that's what I always want to know. So I feel like I always try to make things funny. Being successful at being funny is usually a different story.
So did anything inspire your characters and their stories? Was anything written from personal experience at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in Noah that was me growing up. The book isn't autobiographical as such, because obviously some of the things that happen is quite extreme, and that would be very sad for me if it was. And a lot of the way that Noah thinks, certainly, and his sort of ways of behaving and ways of reacting to stuff that happens to him is definitely based on how I was at school, horrifically now as I look back and see. Now, I guess for me, as my first book, I think it was kind of almost inevitable in a way that a lot of that would sort of creep in.
How about you, Beth?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it was just necessarily stuff from when I was younger. It's stuff that happens now. So at least when really bad stuff happens now, I'm like, it's fine, it was all worth it. I can do something with this. There's book 2. For me, my character Bella is more, and how she sees the world is more about like that feeling of that inner monologue where you're like, just be cool, and then that's like when you do something like you spit on someone's face and you're like, I literally want to die right now. So it's kind of about that panic.
Avery was actually really heavily inspired by my sister. And I think like a good way to describe what she was like in school, when she was in middle school, she wore like costume cat ears to school, and then like the next week all the other girls in her grade were wearing costume cat ears. Or like if I'd done that, everyone would have been like, what's up, meow mix, or like yelling at me, why would you do that? And so kind of that like that mentality of like whatever I do is just great was really interesting to me. But I think so even with characters like Avery, where I'm like, I feel like I'm nothing like her, by the end when I'm reading it over, I'm like, oh, there is part of me in here too. It just like, it sneaks in, I feel, even if it's not what you intend.
Yeah. It would be really hard if you were like, I've just said she's the most popular, coolest girl in school.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it is.
She's
beautiful.
Like, characters are like terrible.
Exactly.
So what is your character's most embarrassing, cringe-worthy moment?
So when Avery's boyfriend breaks up with her, she is not expecting it, and in a fit of rage, she kicks her foot through a chair in the library and it gets stuck in there. And so to Avery, who has never thought she's had a single embarrassing moment before, this is kind of like a that sort of shatters her worldview. And then I think as she goes along, she realizes that a lot of the stuff she's done she probably should have been embarrassed about but wasn't.
Her mum's basically on this yoga retreat, drags her with her and her sister, and she just doesn't want to be there, and her best friend is having a birthday party back home, everyone's going to it, so it's like, please let me be there. So her sister, who's normally not that helpful, older sister, always gets everything right, was like, hey, don't worry, there's a karaoke fancy dress night tonight, we'll go, we won't take any pictures, put them on social, what happens here stays here. So she's like, well, what have I got to lose? So spends all day making this costume out of cereal box, like sort of cereal box out of the bin. And there's a giant arrow, which was a tribute to the beautiful memory of One Direction. She walks in sort of to this big hall, and the exact moment she walks in is when she realises that the whole fancy dress thing's been cancelled. So out of all these like families and everyone having this really tragic time, she's now dressed as a giant arrow.
I will say, I've been to 2 parties personally that I thought were fancy dress, and I got there and they weren't. So that's happened to me twice in real life. Yeah.
That's why I will never do fancy dress for that reason.
Once is a cowgirl and once is Mary Todd Lincoln. And my friend came with me as Abraham Lincoln, and that was a lot of effort.
Did you pass it off as a look?
I mean, no.
So Noah sadly wet himself on the year 8 trip to the London dungeon. Not because he was scared. He genuinely had a bladder infection, which is what caused it. But they did have to rope off a section of the attraction for health and safety reasons while they mopped up.
So tell us one of your most embarrassing moments, and did any of them make it into your book?
I just can't believe I forgot about both times I went to parties that were costume
yes. I don't think you can talk
No, there's all sorts of lurking in your subconscious.
I've forgotten that I did that.
I think there's a time when Bella's arranging a date with this guy, and she's googling like what to wear, and she's googling like top 10 conversation topics to like appear cool, that kind of thing. And then the guy goes to say, actually, I'm not sure that we should be doing this date because it's outside. So she looks up the weather report and it's fine. So she screen grabs it and sends it to him, and she's like, it's fine. And then he's like, yes, and I love those top 10 conversation topics, because he can see what she's been Googling. But yeah, like, there's so many things happen to me that are in that book. It's a real journey, because when I started off, I was saying, no, of course, it's totally fictional. And then by this point, a year later,
just sort of
it's all out there.
Now we all want to see Beth's internet history.
In terms of what's embarrassing, depends a lot on what sort of person you are and were when you were growing up. So for me, as a very kind of geeky teenage boy, one sort of bad and embarrassing that happened was that me and a group of equally geeky friends who were full of quite a lot of self-importance decided to self-appoint ourselves as the school council and give ourselves various powers, have meetings to try and get things done around the school, you know, to make it a better place. And we were very appalled by the fact that round the back of the sports hall we'd seen some other students smoking cigarettes. And so we also felt, though, that the teachers were not well placed to deal with this. They would not be, you know, strict enough on the culprits. So instead, we decided to write a letter to the local newspaper outlining our concerns, thinking this is a good way to get things going. You know, we're going right for it. Anyway, next week it's on the front page of the paper. With our smiling, well, not smiling, shocked faces, looking disappointed about smoking, with this big letter we'd written right slap bang in the middle of the front page. I think it's somewhere. Yeah. It is somewhere. It is a front page article, you know. I mean, it's quite impressive. I haven't achieved that since.
So we got back from the event and actually ended up buying the other 2 books from the authors that we didn't have because we loved it so much. So there's a Super Awkward by Beth Garrod and It's Not Me, It's You by Stephanie Katie Strohm. We already had No I Can't Even by Simon James Green, and afterwards we got to talk to them and have our books signed, which was really sweet.
So here's what they look like inside.
Simon crossed out Noah and put Maddie and B Can't Even, and then put Fab to Meet You.
Stephanie wrote It's All About You whilst chatting to me about the Beauty and the Beast movie because I was wearing a t-shirt. So we talked about how the live action movie was a bit of a flop in our own opinion.
And then Beth signed it Great to Meet You at CringeFest. The memory of Simon eating his banana will live on forever. This was because Shell made all of the authors recreate their covers and their actual pictures of this happening, and so the girls had an easier time of it. They just got to make the funny faces, but Simon then had to peel a banana and he was just left with it for the rest of the event, and I'd swear there was like half an hour left, so he was just eating it throughout the rest. Didn't want it to go to waste after all.
We learned that all of the books are having sequels. No I Can't Even sequel includes drag queens in some way, and we asked if it was pantomime or Vogue style drag queens, and he said like a mix of the two.
There are also going to be a bunch of French exchange students that come and disrupt the social hierarchy at Noah's school, so that will be really fun.
And Stephanie was really excited about that idea. She looked like so happy when Simon said this because she said that she did a French exchange, or did a year abroad, I think was the actual equivalent, in France. So one of her next novels is about a cooking school in France for teenagers, so that sounded really cute.
And then Beth's sequel is just a follow-on of Bella's life and what she's up to, including dogs and ice cream. It was really great to see an event that was so geared around comedy, and I wasn't really sure how much I'd laugh there, but at the end it was so hilarious, and I'll definitely always remember the cringy moments they told us about. So we hope you enjoyed everything we had to show you from CringeFest.
And this is now our book buying ban. We'll see you on our next video, guys.
Bye!